Absolutely. Here's a powerful, emotionally charged opening in the style of Eric Thomas that will grip the audience from the first line and compel them to stay locked in for the entire speech. Weak you must die for the real you to rise. Listen to me if you don't hear anything else I say today. Hear this, the version of you that's been playing small. Has to die. Yeah, I said it. It's gotta die, because the truth is, you cannot become who you're destined to be, holding on to the parts of you that are keeping you average. You cannot live two lives at the same time. You can't chase greatness and cling to weakness. One of them has to go. One of them has to be buried today. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to wake you up, because some of you been asleep inside your own potential. And you know it. You feel it. You wake up tired, not because your body is weak, but because your spirit is starving. Starving to become more. Starving to stop living beneath what you were created for. And I'm not talking about talent, I'm talking about truth. I'm talking about that quiet voice in your chest that keeps saying, you're made for more. But you keep silencing it with distractions, with comfort, with fear. Let me tell you something that weak you. The one that always looks for a way out, the one that gives up when it gets hard, the one that keeps talking about dreams but never puts in the work, that version of you, that version has robbed you long enough. So this ain't just a speech. This is war. War against the excuses. War against the procrastination. War against the doubt, the laziness, the fear, because I came to talk to the real you. The one buried under years of disappointment, rejection, and second guessing. The one that doesn't want to settle anymore. The one that's ready to fight for something bigger than feelings. You wanna be free. You wanna rise. You wanna win, then understand this. The weak you must die for the real you to rise. Don't miss this message. Don't scroll, don't tune out. Because if you stick with me for the next few minutes, I promise you, you'll never see yourself the same again. Let's get to it. See, the problem with most people is they want elevation without elimination. They want to go higher, but they don't want to let go of what's holding them down. And that's the reason they keep circling the same cycle year after year, month after month. You can't fly if you're still chained to who you used to be. That weak version of you. The one that makes excuses. The one that blames everybody else. The one that needs people to believe in them before they take a step. That version has to go. You got to kill comfort. Kill the habit of quitting when things get inconvenient. Kill the mindset that settles for good enough. Because, let me tell you something, that version of you is not compatible with your next level. It's not. And if you keep trying to drag that weak version into your purpose, you're gonna keep sabotaging every opportunity that comes your way. You can't build an empire with a lazy foundation. You can't lead if you're still emotionally led. You can't dominate if you're still negotiating with your old self every time it's time to move. Some of you are still walking around with a mindset that expired 5 years ago. That old software can't run your new assignment. You need an upgrade, but you won't get it until you uninstall the weak you, and I get it. The weak you is comfortable. The weak you is predictable. You know that person. That's the version that doesn't take risks, that doesn't show up fully, that hides behind fear and calls it wisdom. But just because it feels safe doesn't mean it's serving you. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's faithful to your future. Stop thinking you can keep parts of that weak you and still rise. No, you can't keep the doubt and still walk in power. You can't keep the jealousy and expect to walk in purpose. You can't keep the inconsistency and expect results. It's either you let it die, or you keep dying slowly every day that you don't. You were never created to be average. You were never meant to just survive. There's something in you that's supposed to lead, to dominate, to build, to impact, to shift the atmosphere when you walk into the room. But that weak you, it can't carry the weight of the real you. And every time you choose the easy route, every time you play small, every time you let fear speak louder than your faith, you're feeding the wrong identity. You want to know why you're not seeing results. Because you keep showing up with the wrong version of yourself. You keep clocking into life with the same broken mindset, expecting new breakthroughs. It don't work like that. You got dreams that require discipline, but you still operating with feelings. You got a vision that requires sacrifice, but you still trying to live comfortable. You can't have both. You're either going to rise or you're going to remain. But the real you can't emerge until you bury the weak one. And no, I'm not talking about hating yourself. I'm talking about evolving. I'm talking about putting to death the habits, the patterns, the excuses that no longer align with where you're going. It's not personal, it's purpose. If it doesn't grow you, it's gotta go. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you wake up one day and it's all different. No, killing the weak you is daily. It's a choice. It's a battle. It's a decision every morning to show up with excellence, to shut down the lie that says, you're not enough, and replace it with the truth that says, I'm built for this. It's choosing consistency when you feel lazy. It's choosing courage when you feel afraid. It's choosing purpose over pleasure, and you do that enough times, you start to transform. And that's when the world begins to see what was always inside of you, not the weak version, not the timid, inconsistent, reactive version, but the real you, the focused you, the hungry you, the relentless you. That version is a problem for everything that's ever tried to stop you. So if you're ready to rise, if you're serious about walking in your calling, then make the decision today. The weak me dies here. Everybody wants power. Everybody wants breakthrough. Everybody wants to go to the next level. But the moment pain shows up, most people start running. The moment life punches them in the mouth, they fold. You say you want to rise. You say you want to grow. But the second it hurts, you quit. Let me tell you something. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is the proving ground. Pain is the fire that burns off the weak parts of you. Pain is the door, but you gotta walk through it. The weak version of you is allergic to pain. That version of you runs when it gets hard, avoids the hard conversations, backs out when pressure shows up. But the real you is born through pain. You don't discover strength in the sunshine, you discover it in the storm. You don't become great when everything is smooth. You become great when everything's falling apart and you still don't fold. That's where you meet the real you. We live in a world that teaches you to numb the pain, hide it, escape it. Pretend it's not there, scroll it away, smoke it away, complain about it. But I'm telling you, you gotta feel it. You gotta face it. You gotta lean into it. Because pain is the only place you get to unlock the next level of power. Every scar you carry is proof you survived something that was meant to break you. You've already got the evidence, but you've been too focused on the wound to realize the wisdom that came with it. That heartbreak, that failure, that betrayal, that stuff didn't come to destroy you. It came to develop you. It came to cut away the weakness. It came to strip you of pride, of fear, of self-doubt. It came to sharpen your vision. But instead of learning, you've been labeling the pain as punishment. No, it was preparation. See, the weak version of you gets offended by pain. But the real you understands that pain is part of the process. You think the people at the top didn't hurt? You think champions don't feel pain? No, they just decided to turn pain into fuel. They turned pressure into power. They said, if I gotta cry, I'll cry, but I won't quit. If I gotta bleed, I'll bleed, but I'm not backing down. That's what separates those who rise from those who just talk about rising. That's what separates the real from the fake. Everybody wants power, but nobody wants the process that gives you that power. And don't get it twisted, pain don't mean it's over. Pain means you're close. It means you're being stretched, elevated, transformed. You don't get stronger lifting light weights. You get stronger when it's heavy, and some of you are carrying some heavy things right now. Not because life hates you, but because life is building you. You're being trusted with pressure because you were built to carry more. But if you keep letting pain punk you, you'll never see who you truly are. If you keep choosing ease over endurance, you'll never access the part of you that can't be broken. The strongest people you know, they didn't get strong by chance. They walked through hell and didn't stop walking. They didn't let the fire consume them, they let it refine them. The pain is not the problem. The problem is how you respond to it. You either let it break you or you let it build you. You either shrink under it or rise through it. But you can't avoid it. Nobody escapes pain, but what you do with it, that's the difference. That's the separation line between the weak you and the real you. So if you're in pain right now, good. That means you're still alive. That means there's still something worth fighting for. That means there's still something in you worth developing. Use it. Don't waste it. Let it sharpen your hunger. Let it deepen your focus. Let it remind you that every time you survive, you're becoming more unstoppable than you were the day before. You can't rise without pain. You can't become the real you without the fire. But if you're willing to endure it, if you're willing to face it head on and push through it, you'll come out stronger, clearer, hungrier, and more powerful than you've ever been. Let pain make you. You want to know why you're not consistent, why you keep starting and stopping, why every time you get some momentum, you lose it again. It's because you're letting your feelings run your life. You keep waiting to feel like grinding. You keep waiting to feel motivated. But listen to me. Your emotions are unreliable. They change with the weather. They change with your mood, your energy, your circumstances. And if you let them lead, you'll never see the version of you that's built to win. You can't tekeepching you that your heart is lifted by how you feel. The weak version of you is emotional. That version moves when it's easy. That version puts in work when it's convenient. That version hits the gym when it's sunny and skips when it rains. That version shows up when people are watching, but disappears when it's time to grind alone. And that version will never get you to your destiny. You've got to stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking yourself what needs to get done. Because let me tell you, champions don't move on emotions, they move on execution. They don't need a pep talk. They don't need hype. They don't need the perfect playlist or a motivational quote. They show up no matter what. They train through exhaustion. They grind through frustration. They focus through pain. Why? Because discipline is stronger than feelings. When you're disciplined, you don't need to be in the mood. You don't need the stars to align. You just lock in and execute. Discipline says, I do it because it needs to be done, not because I feel like it. Discipline says, I made a decision, and I honor that decision every single day, regardless of how I feel. That's the mindset that separates winners from wishers. You think people who succeed always feel like it. You think they don't get tired. You think they don't have bad days. Of course they do, but they keep moving. Because they understand something that most people don't. Feelings fade, but habits last. Emotion might get you started, but only discipline is gonna keep you going. The weak you wakes up and checks in with their feelings. The real you wakes up and checks in with their vision. There's a difference. One lives by impulse, the other lives by intention. One moves based on what the body wants. The other moves based on what the future demands. And if you're serious about rising, if you're serious about killing the weak version of yourself, you've got to stop negotiating with your feelings. Stop letting your feelings talk you out of greatness. Stop letting your emotions distract you from execution. Stop pressing pause every time pressure shows up. There's never gonna be a perfect day. There's never gonna be a perfect mood. There's never gonna be a perfect moment, so stop waiting. Create the moment through consistent action. Show up every day with the mindset that says, it's already decided. I do what I said I would do, no matter how I feel. And don't get it twisted, discipline doesn't mean you're a robot. Discipline doesn't mean you don't feel things. It means you've trained yourself to do the right thing even when you don't feel like it. It means you've matured enough to realize that short-term feelings can't outweigh long-term purpose. It means you've decided that your dream is more important than your comfort. It's not easy, I'm not gonna lie to you. There will be days you want to quit. There will be mornings where everything in you says, stay in bed. Nights where the excuses feel louder than the purpose. But that's the moment you draw the line. That's the moment you look in the mirror and say, I'm not ruled by emotion. I'm ruled by purpose. I'm not led by weakness. I'm led by discipline. Because every time you choose discipline, you bury the weak you a little deeper. Every time you push through instead of pulling back, the real you gets stronger. And eventually, that becomes your default. Eventually, that becomes who you are. Not because of a feeling, but because you made a choice and you honored it day after day, no matter what. You don't rise because you feel like it. You rise because you refuse to stay down. See, everybody wants to rise, but nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants elevation, but nobody wants isolation. What you gotta understand is the real you doesn't grow in the crowd. The real you is not built when people are clapping for you. It's built when no one sees the work. It's built when you show up early, stay late, and grind in silence. That weak version of you needs the validation, needs the approval, needs somebody to tell them, keep going. But the real you knows how to keep going when there's nobody cheering. Too many people stop because they feel unseen. Nobody's supporting me. Nobody believes in me. Nobody shares my vision. Let me help you. They're not supposed to. Your calling is yours. Your dream was given to you, not them. Stop waiting for permission to go after what was planted in your heart. Stop waiting for applause before you commit. You don't need a fan club. You need focus. You don't need praise. You need purpose. That's the separation right there. That's the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck. The weak you is always checking in with people, always asking, what do you think? Always posting everything for attention, for likes, for clout. But the real you is locked in on the mission. The real you is too busy building to be begging for approval. Because once you realize who you are, you don't need external confirmation. You don't need everybody to understand you. You just need to stay committed to the vision, even when you're the only one who sees it. It's in the silence where your character is forged. It's in the isolation where your mindset is tested. It's in the dark that your light is shaped. You don't level up on stage. You level up in the shadows. But the weak version of you avoids those seasons. The weak you complains about being alone, sees isolation as rejection. But the real you knows that isolation is preparation. The real you understands that being set apart is not punishment, it's positioning. It's alignment. It's God saying, I'm not letting them distract you from what I'm doing in you. You keep wondering why your circle got smaller, why people started fading away, why the phone stopped ringing, why the love feels distant. It's not because something's wrong, it's because you're evolving. And when you evolve, not everybody can go with you. Not everybody can handle the version of you that's becoming. And that's okay, that's necessary, because before you get crowned publicly, you have to be crushed privately. Before people celebrate your wins, you have to survive the process that made those wins possible. You're not gonna rise if you're always trying to please people. You're not gonna become the real you if you're afraid of being misunderstood. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them walk away, let them laugh. Because at the end of the day, your rise isn't dependent on their support. It's dependent on your discipline, your decisions, and your consistency when nobody's watching. And that's where most people fall off. When it gets lonely, they fold. When the support dries up, they stop. When nobody's clapping, they sit down, but not you, not anymore. Because the real you doesn't rise because of popularity. You rise because you've decided to keep showing up when nobody else does. You've decided to build the business, write the book, train your body, sharpen your mind not for recognition, but because it's who you are. So embrace the isolation. Don't run from it, lean into it, let it mold you. Let it strip away the distractions. Let it make you laser, focused. Let it push you to a place where the only thing left is purpose, where the only thing left is grind, where the only thing left is you versus you. Because that's when you know you're ready. That's when the real you stands up. Not when it's loud, but when it's quiet. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when everyone's watching, but when no one is. That's the you the world needs. That's the you who can't be broken. Build in silence, rise in power.